What's going on, everybody? This is John Chick Gaming on the mic here, coming at you with a brand new episode of the FCS Dynasty here on NCAA 06, featuring that next mod, of course. And you see the title of this video, man. We might be punching some playoff tickets to the FCS playoffs here in year number 4, but we got some great action, more importantly, so you're going to want to tune in for this entire episode, man. Make sure you hit that like button, as it helps me out with that YouTube algorithm, as well as hit that subscribe button as well if you do happen to be brand new to the channel as well. And we will jump right into the action. We start our episode with the Portland State Vikings going on home now. They're taking on Weber State, who, you know, they're not eligible for the NCAA playoffs because of current sanctions, but Weber State can play a little bit of spoiler. And how about this to start this throw? You want to talk about on the run, Evelyn Thomas throwing to his receiver, just throws it up and just praying that a play can happen, and that's exactly what happens. Got that play to happen, and Evelyn Thomas leading a nice little drive to start this game out, and eventually leading a touchdown drive, trying to play that spoiler for Portland State, who is in the mix of not only getting a playoff spot, but they're also trying to get into that top 8 so that they can get a first round bye as well. It's been a good season for Portland State, but not so good coverage there to lead to the easy touchdown. And Weber State will take a 7-0 lead through the end of the first quarter, but then we start to see Pierre really go to work, find his receiver Clay, who almost takes it all the way into the end zone. He was extremely close, but gets caught from behind. Needs to work on those speeds drills a little bit. FCS guys, not as fast as the elites of college football, such as Georgia, Ohio State, maybe a Michigan and TCU. We'll see who gets into the college football playoff. This is recorded prior to that coming out, as we now got a 1st and goal from the 9-yard line. Gonna get it out to the Sherman Tank on the outside. He breaks a tackle, finds a way into the end zone. Touchdown, Vikings. And Portland State gets itself on the board as well. And we got ourselves a locked up game, 7-all. So now it's Evelyn Thomas's turn, the freshman custom, trying to respond here initially, looking to the right-hand side. He's going to throw one up, but it's going to be intercepted. Just threw just a little bit too late. And that was actually supposed to go to another fellow custom. That was EJ Joseph that made the play on the football. And that will unfortunately be intercepted. So Portland State takes back over once again, taking over at the 41-yard line. It's prime field position for Portland State. Pierre gonna throw one up to the left-hand side. It's gonna be caught. Huge play for the Portland State Vikings. And that's good for a first down. Just throwing one up in the air and comes down with it. So now Portland State with another goal line opportunity. Gonna hand it off to the big burly fullback, who's gonna be rumbling and stumbling his way into the end zone. Touchdown, Vikings. And Portland State, they extend. They get that lead once again, 14-7. And it looks like they're poised to make a run, as that is the score to end the first half. But in the second half, does the Sherman take over? No, it's Pierre. Looks to the right, but throws it right to a linebacker. Oh, we hate to see it. Tyson Battle just in the right place at the right time, able to make a play on the football there. So that does mean that, you know, Weber State, they're able to get a field goal out of that, get this lead cut down just a little bit there. But then we start to see what Pierre is truly capable of. Get a nice pass out onto the perimeter, let your receiver do the work, and a 44-yard touchdown that gives Portland State its biggest lead of the game. 21-10 now will be your score. Later on in the game, another 3rd down for the Portland State Vikings as Pierre lines up under center. Looks like I formation. No, it's going to be a passing play though. Throws it up and it's going to be caught. Jordan showing some hops there. Touchdown once again for Portland State. Make that 28-10. And Pierre, how about showing some poise, because Weber State, they were going to get to him, and it was going to feel of that one in the morning, but he's also going to see that scoreboard get lit up a little bit differently, as Portland State, they are going to run away with this football game. That 41-yard touchdown run by the Sherman tank late in this game should steal the deal unless something absolutely crazy happens, which is not the case. So Portland State, they will have one more regular season game left to play, but looking very close to locking themselves into their very first FCS playoff appearance in this series. And they win 35-10, get themselves to 8-2. Weber State, they will realistically be out of the conference championship race, and they will be sitting at 500 as they are thinking about getting into their final game of the season that they will be playing next week. But this game right here has even more implications than that first game that we saw. Eastern Washington going on the road to take on the defending conference champs, North Dakota State. Now, Eastern Washington has been a very good surprise team this year, and you see the conference standings as of right now tied for first place. So both of these teams, they have defeated Portland State. So whoever wins this game is going to clinch the conference championship and therefore get an automatic bid into the FCS playoffs here in year number 4. Can Eastern Washington complete the Cinderella story and get themselves into the playoffs? Or will the juggernaut in North Dakota State, will they run all over them? And that is something that the Bison can do. They are a great running football team as Purcell gets it out to the open, but an untimely pitch there. Just not the best of decisions, unfortunately. So Eastern Washington is going to come out with the fumble. And so far, Eastern Washington, they are going to hold up, but they're going to need some help from their offense. Chance Jones, he is the starting quarterback, as Carl Joseph Fousen, he is still hurt with that wrist injury. So he should be back next week if Eastern Washington has another game next week. But they're going to need some production from Chance Jones, and that's not what they're looking for. Getting intercepted, that's not what you want to see. Michael Williams, actually, he's going to get his first interception of the season. Has not touched the ball in any way, shape, or form this year, but that does change. And now, North Dakota State, they had a chance to put up points on the board, but a missed field goal means this game is still all tied up at 0 until a bomb down the right-hand side. Tight end comes down with it. Touchdown, Eastern Washington. And these Eagles, man, this Eagles squad is going to have a 7-0 lead here in the first half. How about this? Eastern Washington, they came to play here in a completely different time zone, and with less than a minute left, they have a chance to extend that lead even further, but unfortunately, Chance Jones, he is going to overthrow his tight end, and that does end up being intercepted by Finnerty. I mean, he made the good decision. I understand where he was trying to get the football to, just completely missed him, unfortunately. And now North Dakota State, they have a chance to tie this ball game up before we go into halftime, but Purcell is also going to turn around and intercept this football as well. One of the linebackers able to get their hands on that to top it off. So Eastern Washington still hanging on to that lead. So now 46 seconds left in the quarter. Chance Jones is going to look over the middle of the field, but it's going to be intercepted as well. And this one could be some trouble. Almost taken all the way back to the crib, but Andy Butler is going to pay the price for it. He was the man that made the play. He does end up getting shaken up, so hopefully he's okay, but the Bison offense is set up in great field position. And the fullback, he's going to take it out into the open, and Burke is going to find the end zone. Touchdown, North Dakota State. And this game is going to be all knotted up at 7 apiece. Or at least that's what we think. We'll see what happens with 20 seconds left. Jones, facing some pressure, is going to be hit. And Tony McDonald is going to get to the farm. And Chance Jones now in a not so ideal situation. 3rd and 18. Jones just trying to make sure, don't turn this football over, and that's the last thing that you wanted to do. Chance Jones puts the football on the ground. Just got to recognize that you got to tuck that football away. So that does mean North Dakota State's going to end the first half. They will tack a field goal on there, and now a 10-7 lead. We'll see if at this point the Bison take control. They do start with the football to begin this second half as Purcell tries to go on the option, but we got a scramble for the football though, and it's also recovered by Eastern Washington. Seems like both of these teams are playing some serious hot potato right now. Neither team wanting to win this game, it seems like. And even though Eastern Washington has 4 turnovers, they're still in this game. They can still win this. That's the crazy part. As Jones looks over the middle, but is going to be intercepted again. It's Andy Butler who gets his hands on the football there. Yet another turnover, unfortunately. A 5th turnover for Eastern Washington. That is simply not championship football. That is not going to get you a conference championship. It might cost them an FCS playoff berth as well. You never know, but what I do know is that it leads to a goal line set. On the 1-yard line, get it out to the star tailback, Ken Anderson, who is going to punch it into the end zone. Touchdown, North Dakota State. And the lead does get extended. Now talking about 17-7. Later on in the 4th quarter, Eastern Washington still down by a couple of possessions. Chance Jones trying to take a chance downfield, living up to that name, and he will get a big catch downfield. Nice first down. They're going to need to go fast though. Multiple possessions down. It's the 4th quarter. Got to move downfield quickly. Jones looks over to the left-hand side again, but it's going to be intercepted one more time as Maurice Stevens will get his first career interception against Chance Jones. Gonna have to save that game ball for him, as that one does seal this game. And North Dakota State, they are going to win this football game that will allow them to clinch the automatic bid for the Pac-10 conference, this new look Big Sky. So we will know that we will see North Dakota State once again in the FCS playoffs. We'll see what their seed is when all of the dust does end up finally settling here. So we take a quick break from the gameplay in order to get our very first studio update of this episode. And we do see Brown beat Harvard, and that will essentially clinch the Ivy League. But that's not the biggest story here. Temple went on the road to take on Eastern Michigan, and the Temple Owls win 41-24. They are 7-3 and could get back into the top 25. Whereas Eastern Michigan, their FCS playoff hopes are in serious danger. So that North Dakota State and Eastern Washington game that we saw is not the only playoff ticket that could be punched here in this episode. We also got a top 25 matchup between the Sanford Bulldogs and the Tennessee Martin Skyhawks. Could be a de facto play-in game here, as Sanford, they are in the race for that conference championship. If they win here today, they at least clinch a share of the Big Ten title. Whereas Tennessee Martin, if they can find a way to win this football game as well, they could find a way to solidify their playoff resume as well to go to the FCS playoffs as well. So, very big game here by both teams. And we're going to go ahead and start with the opening kickoff. Go ahead and get things officially underway between the Sanford Bulldogs and the Tennessee Martin Skyhawks. We'll see who's going to be sky and high by the time this game is over. And Sanford is going to start with the football because your Customs, Chris Gentry, that is the true junior. He's going to put the ball on the ground, and so Sanford's going to start with the football in the red zone. And Ashton Hines, he is such an underrated quarterback. Not really been a lot of talk about him on the national stage, but I'm telling you guys right now, Ashton Hines, he is certified him. I believe he's only a sophomore too. That's the crazy part. Leads a touchdown drive right away. First play of the game. Could not start any better for the Sanford Bulldogs as they are going to get yet another interception on Donnie Jacobs. That almost gets taken back all the way to the crib. He will be brought down at about the 3-yard line. But man, so close to being taken all the way back to the crib. And now Sanford with another chance to punch this football in once again. We'll see if they can do just that. This backup tailback is in the game because Asante Randolph Jr. did get a little shaken up on the first drive. But we do see Sanford get into the end zone. 14-0. Gonna be your score already. We've only played a grand total of 59 seconds. Jacobs trying to get his team back on track. Finally get a big play downfield. That might be something to get the Skyhawks going as well, because Tennessee Martin, they're a talented football team as well. They got guys that can play, but potentially at the NFL level, dare I say. But right now, just not really showing much of that. But how about this play to kind of turn things around a little bit? Donnie Jacobs sticking around in the pocket, lots of pressure, and able to win that one-on-one matchup on the outside. And now Tennessee Martin looking to get into the end zone as well. 3rd and 4. Got it from the 10-yard line. Jacobs lining up under center. It's going to be a play action. He's going to roll to his left. He's got plenty of time. Fires into the end zone. Touchdown, Skyhawks. And they finally soar their way into the end zone. Nice job by that receiver as well, getting that inside leverage. So now back to a one-possession game as Ashton Hines comes back out onto the field. But his first big drive of the game has been easy pickings here as they had their first couple of drives start in the red zone. Now they got to put together a complete drive. But seems like Ashton Hines is ready for the challenge, eventually leading his troops into the red zone. Got a 1st and 10 from the 11-yard line as Hines lines up under shotgun formation. Backup still in the game. He's going to drop back. Going to throw it up into the end zone, and it's caught! Touchdown, Sanford! And do you think this Bulldog squad wants to go to the FCS playoffs? I know Ashton Hines does. That's his 3rd touchdown of the quarter. Ashton Hines, he is on another level right now. Donnie Jacobs, not so much. Not on that same level as... We'll see who made that interception. Could have been one of your customs, and it was. It was Jabari Thomas, the sophomore corner, who's able to make a play on the football. So another easy possession. Defense fueling the offense here for the Sanford Bulldogs. Although this time around could not punch it in, also missed a field goal. So still 21-7 game. However, seems like Tennessee Martin, they are not bringing the intensity that you would think they would bring in a de facto playoff game. Getting embarrassed on their home field right now. It's been a rough first quarter. Doesn't get any better in the second though. Hines under shotgun. He's going to hand it off, but his running back gets absolutely tattooed as that linebacker was able to get through the A-gap. And now, 3rd and goal from the 5-yard line. Tennessee Martin, they desperately need this stop. Ashton Hines dropping, looks to the right, throws to the corner of the end zone, all by himself, and even able to get the 10 toes down. It would have been a catch in the NFL as well. And Ashton Hines with yet another touchdown pass. It's going to be 28-7 your score. And a huge reason why they got this lead, not just because of the defense. The defense has been phenomenal, but also we see plays like this. That shows you why Ashton Hines could be so incredible for the Sanford Bulldogs team. They got themselves a winner right here, able to run into the end zone. And it's 35-7. That is going to be your score now. And Sanford just bringing the heat. Eric Smith's going to get a sack. He's having a very good career. I believe a 4-year starter for the Sanford Bulldogs. But it forces Tennessee Martin to punt this football away already. Quite the blowout that we got going on right now. 35-7 your score. We got a little bit of a step back cheese, and he's going to step his way into the end zone. Touchdown, Bulldogs. Sanford, we might have to pay a little bit more attention to you now. Trying to make that first FCS playoff appearance in the way that they're playing. we've seen them had some duds. Don't get me wrong. But if they can play like this, they could compete with anybody in America down here at the FCS level. I have no doubt in that whatsoever. But we'll see if Ashton Hines can add on to his beautiful day. 45-7, your score is going to hand it out to the tailback on the speed option. It's a scamper down the sideline. And Grant Williams, he's already got a touchdown in this game. He's also going to get a pretty big run there as well. Does eventually get dropped at around the 30-yard line. So another red zone opportunity waiting for Ashton Hines and company. Their 5th one of the day. We're going to go 5 for 5, and it's going to be a Wendy's drive-thru moment because they will go 5 for 5. Touchdown, Sanford. And the Bulldogs will run away and win this game emphatically, 62-28. And they finished their regular season on an extremely high note. So we now check in on yet another top 25 matchup. Playoff berths on the line here as we got Sacramento State hosting Northern Arizona. And Sacramento State, they thankfully get their starting quarterback back. Corey Hall is available, but Dewar McNair is out. So not a lot of depth behind Corey Hall in this one. And it's a critical game as well. Sacramento State, they used to look like a lock into the playoffs, but after a couple of losses in a row here, that's not, they're going to have to win out, it seems like, if they want to solidify their bid. So, little room for error. We'll see if they can step up to the challenge. Or will Northern Arizona get their first playoff berth? This would really help them out in that, as Tyrone Wolf, the starting quarterback, the custom for Northern Arizona, gonna start out on a not so high note, as the sophomore is going to throw an interception over the middle of the field, and Sacramento State will take over at about the 33-yard line. Does get a couple of field goals off of that kind of momentum, but still a very close game. 6-0 gonna be your score as of that moment. As now we'll go ahead and see Northern Arizona try to go to work, try to get some movement downfield, but yet another turnover by the Lumberjacks, and it leads to more field goals. Only a 9-3 game. Haven't seen a lot of offense yet. Been more of a defensive affair, but Corey Hall looks to change that up a little bit as he's going to go to his go-to wide receiver, Jacob Hill, the sophomore, who led the team in receiving yards last season. Looking to do the same here in his second year on the field, but he will not be the one catching the touchdown pass. That will be Espinoza that will do that instead. So Corey Hall, nice throw over the right-hand side. And now 2nd and 9 from the 25 is Northern Arizona. They're trying to get back into this game as well, and Tyrone Wolf comes through with the answer. How about this dot to the left-hand side? Not a lot of room to squeeze that football in there, but Tyrone Wolf found a way to do just that, and is back to a one-possession game. 3:28 left to play here in the first half. We're going to see Corey Hall try to throw the football, but it's actually going to be intercepted. We got to talk about that spin move. He might have been a tight end in high school. We don't know the background on this kid very much, but that tells me he played a little bit of offense, because look at that spin. I mean, that's gutsy to do that as a linebacker, and it actually worked. Got some additional yards out of it. So now goal line situation from the 6-yard line off the interception, and Wolf will throw it into the end zone, and it's caught. Touchdown, Northern Arizona. And after the extra point is made, Northern Arizona, they're going to take the lead on Sacramento State. You can tell the intensity in the air, and you can also tell from Jacob Hill, he wants to experience playoff action. He's already closing in on 100 yards receiving. 5 catches, 98 yards. It's been a great day, but on that play, he also experienced some back spasms. He will be back in this game, but not for the rest of this drive. Not as Corey Hall needs him. He's just going to find his trusty tight end, as Northern Arizona, they sent an all-out blitz. They were not wasting time, and the all-out blitz did not work. Could not get home to the quarterback in time. So Sacramento State get able to score there, and they will also score with a huge play through the air as well. That's Espinoza that will get a second touchdown reception of the day, as that pass was just wide butt naked open. Easy throw for Corey Hall to make. And Sacramento State with a convincing lead, 34-20. Is Hall. He's going to face some pressure right up the middle. Will be brought down. So a long third down incoming here. No, fourth down. 4th and 18. And Sacramento State's going to go for it. Corey dropping back. Going to look over to the left-hand side. Looking for Jacob Hill, but it's going to be picked off. Not the terrible thing in the world after not getting the first down, obviously, because it turns into a little bit of an arm punt. A little 25-ish yard arm punt. Zach Moses does get the interception there. But Northern Arizona, they could not claw back from the deficit that they had in the second half. In Sacramento State, they're going to win this game, and that should create some assurances that they're still very much in the hunt for the FCS playoffs. But now, because Northern Arizona lost this football game, they're going to need a little bit of help. They're going to be 6-4. They'll likely fall out of the top 25 after when we see the next AP poll. They'll need to win out and get a little bit of help as well. So we'll see if that help happens right here, as Akron and Ohio are going to be playing up against each other. Haven't talked about the MAC or Conference USA as much as we've done in typical years, and that's just because the talent level in this conference has dropped since year number 1. That has been something that has happened, but we do see Ohio and Akron. They're going to be embroiled in this game to determine who's going to go to the conference championship game and ultimately fight for that automatic berth that's going to come from the MAC conference. And Ohio and Akron, Ohio particularly, I don't think they've made an FCS playoff appearance yet in this series. I know Akron has for sure. But we'll go ahead and get right into it. Very first play of the game, and Ohio Stadium, I already forgot what it's called. It is rocking early, and the Bobcats are going to use that early momentum. Very first play of the game, and we're going to see him gone like a girl in a country song. Touchdown, Ohio. They will take that 7-0 lead early, as now dropping back, looking over to the right-hand side, throws an absolute dot into the end zone there too. And yet another score for the Ohio Bobcats. And I have that feeling that the cannon that Ohio has in the stadium after every score is going to be busy today. And maybe I'm not wrong. Dropping back again. Looking to the right-hand side. No! Throws across his body. And that's also caught. Another touchdown. Another cannon volley here in the Ohio Stadium. As the Bobcats, they really want to go to that conference championship game. 24-3, gonna be your score at the half. But Akron did defer to the second half. That's why we saw that opening kick return go for a touchdown. Is now Akron trying to get back into this football game, and this will certainly help out the occasion. The Zips are going to run by Ohio's special teams unit, cut it down to a 2-score game. But they can't get anything going on the defensive side of the football. Yet another touchdown for Ohio. Just giving Edwards all day to throw that football. And it helps when you're pretty solid on third downs. 4 for 8 on the afternoon. And this one could be a pretty big one too. This could effectively put the game away if Akron's not careful. And sure enough, they give up yet another third down conversion. And this one was a critical one to give up as well. Yet another touchdown, making it 38-10 your score. So now Johnson trying to get anything going downfield. Does throw a touchdown in the fourth quarter. This is their backup, as Steve Spurlock. He is injured, so he did not play in this game. Might be part of the reason why Akron is not necessarily getting blown out, but you can tell that Ohio seems a little bit more prepared than, this backup quarterback for Akron, for example. But 38-17, Johnson will try to drop back once again. Actually fumbles the football, and that fumble does directly lead to a touchdown. And a huge reason why Ohio is going to go ahead and win this football game is because of turnovers. Ohio dominated that turnover battle here today. Ohio does get to 9-1, so a really good season for the Ohio Bobcats. I'm actually a little surprised that they are not ranked as high as they should be. They did come into this battle number 17. Akron, meanwhile, was ranked in the top 5. I would imagine to see the Akron Zips take a little bit of a dip, but should be in the FCS playoffs, still 9-2. A very good record, nothing to scoff at by any means, while Ohio looks really good. But the final game of this afternoon slate that I wanted to check out before we go ahead and dive into the next studio update covering scores around the FCS. We got the Elon Phoenix going on the road to take on the Cardiac Cats of Sam Houston State. And coming in, Sam Houston State, they need this win. They do play against Southeastern, but getting this win will help their FCS playoff hopes without having to worry about that championship bid. Last few conference champions, or at least division champions from this particular division, they had to beat Georgia Southern to get into the FCS playoffs. You don't want to put yourself in that spot. So from that standpoint, Sam Houston, they got to win this game. As Bullock will start out throwing over to the left-hand side, he's going to find one of his developing receivers. That's Gregg, the junior. He's kind of worked his way up the depth chart and making some big plays here early in this ball game. It's going to help engineer an early drive that leads to a touchdown for the Cardiac Cats. And here on senior day, they will go ahead and take a 7-0 lead. As now we go ahead and check in on the other quarterback, not David Bullock, Eric Booth. He's going to throw one up in the air as well, and he had the right idea. His man was open. They were able to beat the top off the defense. However, Eric Booth just did not put enough air under this football. As we're going to check out the replay here real fast. Booth puts it up in the air. Got to be a touch throw. Just didn't put enough on that touch. So that's going to be Eric Booth's 10th interception of the season. As we did see Derek Bullock off screen did get hurt on a 3 and out. So this is Mario Simon, the backup for Sam Houston State. Did beat out Louis Ward, who we actually saw in the SEC championship game back in year number 3. He is actually now the quarterback 3 for this program. And Louis Ward, he's sitting behind Mario Simon. Simon, of course, a true freshman and going to make some true freshman mistakes. David Fenner's going to get to him before Simon has any opportunity to get the football out of his hands, which you absolutely have to do in that spot. Instead, 3rd and long, but Craig Gregg is going to bail him out in a massive way. Sam Houston State are going to take a 14-3 lead. Oh my goodness. Craig Gregg having himself a day. He's now got a receiving touchdown to go with it. And now 14-3 in favor of Sam Houston State as Booth tries to throw out of his own end zone. And while he will not be taking the safety, what does happen though is that Sam Houston State, they get yet another interception. And just a costly mistake there for Eric Booth. Number 11 on the season. Essentially sets up yet another red zone opportunity for the Bearcats. It's now Mario Simon from the 7-yard line. Drops back, looks over to the left-hand side. It's a screen pass to Craig Gregg. But Gregg nowhere to go as Elon does a phenomenal job of rallying to the football. And inside the 5-yard line still. We don't get that stand, however. It was a good attempt by Elon to get the stand. But 21-3 now going to be your score. They certainly look like a top 10 team in the nation. How does Elon respond? Or are they going to be ran off of the field? This is going to help. Big play down the sideline, breaking a couple of tackles. And Elon gets his first touchdown of the game. Booth getting some time in the pocket, throws one up to his big tight end. And he rumbles and stumbles his way into the end zone. So we'll see if that sparks Elon, as it's now just a 2-score game. Williams on the direct snap. Jamal Williams, not to be confused with the Detroit Lions running back. Jamal Williams gets to across midfield. So another promising drive for Sam Houston State. At the 29-yard line, dropping back. Looking over to the left-hand side, but it's intercepted. Here comes Elon down the sideline and gets to about that original line of scrimmage. But that's a huge stop there by Elon's defensive coverage, keeping them in this game. Now it's the offense's time to shine. Can they come through in the clutch to help possibly upset the number 10 team in the nation? Fourth quarter now. Booth under center, needs this score, drops back, looking, gonna have to throw this one up in the air, and it's caught by the defense. And Sam Houston State, they get a stop that they're looking for as well. That ends up being intercepted once again by Eric Booth. And, you know, one-on-one coverage at the time, but the safety's able to come over just a little bit late with that football. And now Sam Houston State comes out on the field with its offense. Down the sideline, it's Williams. He's got some space to work, able to eventually be chopped down at about the 40-yard line. But Jamal Williams, well over 100 yards in this one. And that's a huge first down for the Bearcats as they try to suck the soul out of the Phoenix. As now, third and long, Simon's got some time to work with as Elon only sends 2 defenders. And apparently they needed to send more pass rushers because Mario Simon, he had all day to throw this football and able to get it off. That's a touchdown for Sam Houston State. So 28-10 now your score as Eric Booth trying to work his guys back into this game, but it looks like it's going to be all Bearcats from here on out. Elon with their 4th turnover of this game, by the way, all coming from interceptions. Very costly mistakes, but we have been seeing here, and they will use that to get a field goal and more importantly get some time off the clock once again. 31-10 now going to be your score. Ensuing kickoff, we will see Elon take the kick return out of the end zone. This might help him significantly down the sideline. No one's going to be able to catch him actually unless there's flags. Elon's going to score this touchdown here, and they do. 101 yards for the touchdown, back to a 2-possession game. However, they tried the onside kick, that doesn't work, so now the defense will need to come through as well in order for them to get the football back and have any shot of pulling off the miracle. But Williams is having none of that right now. He's going to take the run up the middle, breaks 1 tackle, hops over a second, tries to run through a third. So now Elon forced to take some timeouts, but it's all moot because yet another score is going to happen. 38-17 now going to be your score, and the Sam Houston State crowd, they are loving every single minute of it. 21 points being the difference. Only 36 seconds left to play. Not looking good. But you know what college football is all about. You know, college football is all about the land of style points. It's not as much about, you know, just winning or losing the football game. What was the style of the game? And this is going to make those style points add on to Sam Houston State's resume, at least just a little bit, as the Bearcats will finish the day. They will win 45-17 against their conference opponent. It's going to set up a date with Southeast Louisiana for the opportunity to go to the conference championship and play up against the current number 1 team in college football, Georgia Southern. So great win by Sam Houston State. However, for Elon, still a solid season for them. 5-4. Let's not take any away from Elon. They can still work themselves into an FCS playoff berth too. But as we start to see the sun set in many parts of the country, we'll go ahead and have yet another studio update on some of the 3:30 games around the country. We start with one of your user coaches in Coach Tyber Guillen. He leads the number 10 ranked team in the nation in Southeast Missouri State and leads them over Jacksonville State by a final score of 24-7. as the Red Hawks are now 8-2 and looking like they're coming back to the FCS playoffs once again. As for New Hampshire, they are also looking to get back to the FCS playoffs. They got a national championship to defend. New Hampshire beats Norfolk State in conference play 24-10, and that sets up a daring challenge against James Madison for who goes to the conference championship next week. Eastern Carolina, meanwhile, is looking to get back to the FCS playoffs after a disappointing year 3. They go on the road against William & Mary and win 31-17, as the Pirates looking like a lock, sitting at 8-2 right now. However, we will have a notable team fall, and it is Utah State that loses to New Mexico State at home on Senior Day nonetheless. Utah State, this is their first loss of the season, and they lose 21-7. We'll see what happens to New Mexico State, though, as they're now 8-4 on the season. But we close out tonight's episode of the FCS Dynasty with a couple of games that certainly have some FCS playoff implications. We start with the Big Ten footballs. We got number 7 ranked Eastern Kentucky going on the road to take on their hated rivals, the Western Kentucky Hilltoppers. And Western Kentucky is still alive for a playoff bid, but they are still in deep need of a win here, because 6-5 is not going to be enough to get an at-large bid in this year's field for the FCS playoffs. Eastern Kentucky, meanwhile, this is going to be the last game that they play this season, I believe. They're sitting at 8-2 right now. So if they win this game, they will be looking pretty good for a first-round bye. So a lot of implications for both teams. Not to mention, Eastern Kentucky can also find a way to at least clinch a share of the Big Ten title. But right now, it does seem like Western Kentucky, them boys came to play today. They got a really long drive to start this game. They're going to find the end zone. That gives them a 7-0 lead, where most of that drive took place over the course of nearly an entire quarter. And that's how you're going to have to beat Eastern Kentucky. If you find a way to beat Eastern Kentucky, you got to win that possession battle. And you also got to find a way to get some turnovers, which is exactly what Western Kentucky is going to do. Taking it all the way back into the end zone. Touchdown, Hilltoppers. And Western Kentucky is going to get a 46-yard touchdown on the fumble recovery. You absolutely love to see that. And Western Kentucky, they got themselves a lead. Might mess around and take that lead into the locker room as well. They just got to finish this first half strong. Problem is, they kicked it right into the hands of Chris Vaughn, who is a very dangerous athlete himself. He will also find the end zone. Touchdown, Eastern Kentucky. Just following his blocks, man, and just open space to work with down the sideline. Once he got past the punter, you already know that it's barbecue chicken. So we actually get a tie game going into the halftime locker room. 14-all. But then Leon Rose is going to take things over here in the second half. How about this running back right there? If he gets into the playoffs, he is going to be a wrecking ball that no one is going to want to tackle anyway whatsoever. And Eastern Kentucky, they now have a 7-point lead as the Hilltoppers. They're going to have to find a way to generate some offense. Ever since that first drive, their offense has been really stone cold in this game. And once again, after another failed possession, they got to punt this football away. Chris Vaughn gets his hands on it again, and for the second time today, he's going to rush it into the end zone. Another touchdown for the Colonels, and they might be shutting the lights out for Western Kentucky and their FCS playoff hopes. One more to get the hat trick for Rose. Rose gets across midfield, and that does mean that he has over 100 yards running on the ground here today, and just some tough nose running. And they are going to go for it here on 4th down. Coates looking for the dagger, puts it up in the air, and it's going to be caught. Johnson with the huge play. Touchdown, Eastern Kentucky. And it looks like this team has what it takes to secure that top 8 bye. And that fat lady officially going to be singing As the number 7 ranked team in the nation, the Eastern Kentucky Colonels, they win this rivalry game for the Battle of Kentucky 35-14. And not only will the Colonels more than likely gets that first round bye, although we'll wait till selection Sunday to confirm that. At the same time, though, Western Kentucky looks like their season is going to end today. A solid season at 6-5. But all things considered, they will miss out on an opportunity to go to the FCS playoffs most likely. But with that being said, last game of the episode, we go down to Southern Georgia. And no, we're not talking about the devil. We got Bobcats and Eagles to wrap up today's episode, as Texas State is looking to play spoiler here in one of the last games that they will be playing here this season. They will be taking on the number 1 team in college football. They are taking on the Georgia Southern Eagles, also known as your national runner-up back in year number 3. And Ikeda Woods is back out onto the field. He's going to try to make one last push to win that Heisman Trophy. He was a Heisman finalist in his junior campaign. We'll see if we can get it going here. First drive of the game. Ikeda Woods going to get it out to the right-hand side. He's going to fake the pitch. And now he's off to the races down the sideline. And he is gone like a girl in a country song. Touchdown, Eagles. And Ikeda Woods gets it off right. Almost that coveted 69 yards. Only a 67-yarder. But it still adds the same number of points onto the scoreboard. And nice 7-0 lead to get things going. But Texas State, man, they have nothing left to lose. So, you know, this Bobcat squad, a chance to ruin a perfect season for Georgia Southern. They're going to put everything on the line, and it shows on their opening kick return. They are actually going to answer back down the sideline, and Texas State responds in kind. They tie the game. And then one of the last plays that we see in the first quarter, they are going to take the lead. Late in the first, they're going to get the face mask penalty as well. Not that they needed. They were still going to score the touchdown anyways. The 1 quarter of action so far in Texas State, they actually got the lead right now. 14-10 now being your score. And they're actually looking good on the ground. I was not thinking that they were a running team. They got Mitchell McJones, who's had some really nice games for Texas State so far this year, but been the running game for Texas State that's been really taking over in this one, as Dell II could not bring that tackle in. And listen, if it's not broke, why fix it? They keep going to that run game, and they eventually find their way into the end zone. It's another touchdown for Texas State. And the Bobcats, they got them on upset alert to potentially end this episode. If this result holds, we would have a brand new number 1. But Georgia Southern, they have other plans. Ikeda's going to look over the middle. He's going to find his receiver, Whitaker, who's going to run it across the 40-yard line. First down, Georgia Southern. Going to need some plays like that to make sure that this is a 1-possession game going into halftime. Later on in the drive, less than 30 seconds left. Ikeda's got to get the ball out quickly, but it's almost intercepted. Trying to toss it into the back of the end zone, but it's deflected away. And now, 2nd and goal, but the clock stops, so Ikeda can just put this ball on the ground, and he will choose to run it into the end zone himself. So Georgia Southern cuts it to just a 4-point game, and it remains a 4-point game for much of the third quarter. Still got the same score, and that Texas State defense, it is holding up strong here in the second half. But can they come through with yet another goal line stand? 1st and goal from the 6-yard line. Ikeda taking those options, going to pitch it out to Blake Williams, who dives into the end zone. Touchdown, Georgia Southern. And with 5 minutes left to play in the fourth quarter, they will finally take the lead for the first time since first quarter. It's been a long time coming, but they got it. They got the lead. Can they hang on to it, though? They're going to really rely on that running game. They are really set up to finish these games out. sitting at the 44-yard line now, less than 2 minutes. They hand it off once again. It's Blake Williams down the sideline. One man with a beat, and it's going to be a calling play for Blake Williams as he finds the end zone once again. Touchdown, Georgia Southern, as Blake Williams able to run away from the DBs of Texas State. And the Bobcats are in some trouble now, down by 10. I'm going to see Mitchell McJones trying to make something happen. Throw it to the left-hand side, but throws it up into traffic. And we get some custom on custom violence as the junior DeAndre Dowdell II is going to catch this football off of the tip. And it's going to set up yet another scoring opportunity for Georgia Southern. Starting to drive off in the red zone, and Ikeda Woods, he's just going to follow his blockers in, and how about that nasty old stiff arm? Going to find the end zone once more. A 20-yard touchdown for Ikeda Woods. Just following those blocks, I mean, listen, it just became a numbers game at the end of the day, and listen, it was a little bit dicey for Georgia Southern, don't get me wrong, but the Eagles, they will still march on. They are going to remain undefeated here on the season. 11-0 is their name, and they're seeking perfection. While Texas State, their season will be coming, well, not coming to an end. They will have one more game on the road against Delaware, but at 3-7, those FCS playoff hopes, they are more than done, and they're also not finishing above 500. But before we dive into the most recent Sports Illustrated magazine, let's go and take a look at some of the night scores that we did miss out on while checking out the night games and gameplay. We start with Kent State, and they keep their FCS playoff hopes alive, beating Rhode Island by a score of 45-14 as the Golden Flashes look to get back to the FCS playoffs. As for Central Michigan, another MAC team trying to go to the FCS playoffs, we do see them dispatch Ball State with relative ease as the Chippewas win 59-17 as Central Michigan now gets to 8-2 here in year number 4. But we do see a blowout as well in Conference USA as the SMU Mustangs are going to try to make a case to get in as an at-large bid. They blow out Charleston 51-14. They will end the regular season 8-3, while Charleston is going to finish below 500. But we come into the final week of the regular season, and we see the biggest shocker on the cover. Utah State losing is sure going to mix up some things in the AP Top 25. So with that, we'll go ahead and see those monumental changes that we're talking about. Now, Georgia Southern, they are still number 1 in the country, and they are commanding all of the first place votes in the AP Top 25. But after that, we do have a couple of changes. New Hampshire, they're now in at number 2 after their 2-touchdown win over Norfolk State. Southern is also in up to number 3. They were on bye last week as well. North Dakota State, after winning their big game against Eastern Washington, they move up a couple of spots, and so does Eastern Kentucky. San Diego State, meanwhile, moves up 2 spots as well. They were on bye. Sam Houston State, they're up to number 7. They had a 45-17 win. Southeast Missouri State 24-7 ends up being that final score. So now Southeast Missouri State, them Red Hawks, in a position to get a first round bye. Outside of first round byes, we still have Portland State sitting at number 9 after a 25-point win over Weber State. James Madison was on bye, but they're up to number 10. Western Carolina also doing the same thing, moving up in spite of being on bye. And then we also have Central Michigan. They're at number 12. They move up after a big win against Ball State. Jumping into the second half of the AP poll, though, we have Ohio at 9-1, getting a big win over Akron. They will be going to the MAC championship. Utah State, though, with a massive drop. Their shocking loss against New Mexico State drops them 12 spots, all the way down to number 14, but still in a good spot to make the FCS playoffs. Same with Southeastern. Eastern Carolina is there as well. Akron is another big faller here. Number 17 now. They also drop 14 spots. They're the biggest dropper in our polls. In the final third of the AP, we got Sacramento State still hanging in at 18. Kent State at number 19, followed by Sanford, and then we have a little bit movement towards the bottom. Texas Southern moves up to 21, and we have a few unranked teams in Rice, SMU, and Temple, all of which coming off of wins, with Eastern Washington just hanging on by a friend. But if they can beat Idaho State in their last game, they could very well be in the playoffs. Now, there is plenty of schools that are also receiving votes right now, getting some consideration. Some of those schools include Tennessee Martin, Northern Arizona, Arkansas Pine Bluff, South Carolina State, Delaware State, Eastern Illinois, and then it rounds out the group with Western Kentucky and Chattanooga, who's receiving a grand total of 1 vote. But we'll also go ahead and check in on the Heisman Watch as of right now, and we have a same top 2 as of this moment. Jonathan Bowers still sitting at number 1. He has 20 touchdowns on this season. But then we also have Stephen Robinson. Even though he did lead that win over Utah State, he's still sitting at number 2, although he had a great game. But we do see some movement in the bottom of the Heisman Watch. Ikeda Woods, for example, moves up to number 3. He has 27 total touchdowns on the season, trying to lead Georgia Southern to their first national championship in this series. And then on top of that, we got Blake Williams, his teammate. He's also in the Heisman conversation. 1,700 yards, 20 touchdowns on the year. He had a couple in that Texas State game that helped Georgia Southern remain undefeated. Finally, rounding out the group, Dustin Arnold is still in the Heisman conversation, but after that loss to New Mexico State, he falls to number 5. Still having a very good year with 36 total touchdowns, but came up short against New Mexico State. So next episode, what we got going on is that we are actually going to go ahead and have the final full week of regular season action, since week number 15 is typically a smaller week. So next episode, we will have 8 more games that will have some serious FCS consequences in terms of that playoff picture, as we're trying to get it all cleared up for you guys, as there's definitely a lot of intrigue and a lot of teams still in the hopes of getting that playoff appearance. So gonna be a fun episode. It's gonna be an exciting episode as well, and I hope you guys are really excited for it. If you are, make sure you go ahead, smack that like button for me. Hit that subscribe button as well if you do happen to be brand new to the channel. This is John Jake Gaming on the mic signing off, but I'm hoping you're all out there having a good one. Take care, everybody.